This teddygaming and welcome back to another review on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles tmnt The Cinematic Adventures issue number 3, and oh boy, this issue was very good for one particular reason. The story was decent, but the artwork, oh my god, the artwork is on like a whole nother level. So, oh god, yeah, where do I even begin with this issue? Okay, so let's go through the story. So this one is actually a pretty simple story, and if anything, it does feel a little bit too short, just because of how simple the story is. And the main plot of the story is that basically the Turtles go to Tesseract to return stuff which they stolen in the last couple of issues, but the professor at Tesseract asks the Turtles to go down to the bottom of the sea to go find this probe which went down there but went missing. So Turtles do decide to go down there, and that's when they do get captured by this metal squid thing called the Mechno Squid, and they do take them to this place called the Atlantis. And here, I believe this is actually a place from the original TV show, which I haven't seen that episode, so if it is from that episode, then yay, I might need to go back and rewatch it. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see that they are exploring this world a lot more and really opening it up to like new and bigger places, which I would think that they could do a lot more interesting things. But at the same time, with how they ended this story with Atlantis type thing, I don't think they can do anything more with this like setting, so that's a little bit disappointing because I do feel as though like there's a lot to be like shown here, but it's a shame that nothing really happens here all too much. Now when the Turtles do go to Atlantis, they're greeted by these fish people, and basically the Turtles ask them if they can have their probe back, and they are like really willing to give it back to them, except for the fact that they want the Turtles to do a little competition for them first. And that competition is them going into this battle arena and fighting Slash. And I must admit, you know, pretty, somewhat like, I don't want to say boring story, but at the same time, it's just very slow but fast paced and not really much is really happening, which I do guess is good, but at the same time, I do feel as though like there's a lot that could be done, but yeah, they just don't do anything. They don't explore the setting whatsoever, so I do think like there's a lot of problems like that, but at the same time, because it's only like a 20-page comic, I can forgive them for a few things. But at the same time, they could. I do feel as though this story could have been a lot more interesting had this one been done over like 2 issues. But after that, we do get to see the Turtles, they're getting ready, and that's when we do get to see Mikey puts on the last Ronin gear. And with this bit here, I have some. I don't really know what to really think of this, just because on the one hand, I do really like the joke and I really do think he's really funny and just so great, and not to mention that the person who actually colouring this issue also does do the colouring for the Last Ronin stuff, so I do find like there's a little inside like gag type things there, but oh god. I mean, on the other hand, I do feel as though that it doesn't really work all too well for this version of the Turtles. I mean, I do understand the inside jokes and all that, but at the same time, I think that with this kind of like comic and how they do go around with the comedies and that sort of type of thing, then I would have preferred them if they'll like maybe they'll keep like all the jokes to like the 80s or 90s type thing, just because I think that when you go into beyond the 80s and 90s and do references like 2003, 2012 or Lost Ronin or Rise, then I do feel it does come a little bit weird, just because I mean, I don't really know like where like references really take place now, just because it just feels also weird, but at the same time, I do like it because it's a really great reference. It's just going to be one of those things when I'm just like, yeah, that's good, but at the same time, oh god. So then after that, we do get to see the Turtles, we do go into the arena, and we do find Slash, and he has this really big hammer, and all of them start to fight, and not really much is really happening here. The Turtles are fighting and stuff like that, and you know, Donatello comes up with a plan. It goes over to the king, you know, it's basically if you can flood your town, and I must admit I was really surprised by that, but the fish people were really open to it, and they wanted to do it just to get rid of him. I don't know why we didn't really think of that earlier, but it is what it is. So then after that, we do get to see the Turtles, they're running out of the arena, and Slash is following after them, and that's when they do decide to actually flood the whole thing, and the Turtles do leave the Atlantis and go back to like the surface. And this bit here was, you know, it was okay, I want to say. There's not really too much I can really say here. It happened and stuff like that, and yeah. And then also with this little bit here, I did also mention basically they don't really have the technology to actually find Atlantis anymore. So again, like, it's really disappointing just because I do feel still like there's a lot of missed opportunities to retell some really interesting stories and explore new locations and stuff like that. But because we can't do that now because they can't find it, it just feels still like there's a lot of missed opportunities here. But it is what it is, but at the same time they could have done so much more of it. So yeah, I must admit, overall, the whole story itself, I do think that this story was quite fun for a few different reasons, I want to say, and I did quite enjoy it for the most part, but I do feel still that the whole story did feel like really rushed, and I do feel still that if this story had taken place over 2 issues, then I do think that this one could have been served as a much better story. As you know, they could have had the Turtles exploring the Atlantis and stuff like that. I do really feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities to really explore the location and really make it like a really interesting thing, and even have like some of these characters be recurring. So I just feel still like there's a lot of missed opportunities there and stuff like that. And also, not to mention with the jokes in this issue and also the 4th wall break, I do feel still that in this particular issue, it did feel a little bit worse, I want to say, than like the past 2 issues. I mean, especially like the last run thing. Even though it's like really cool reference and stuff like that, it does feel a little bit weird having a 2023 like type thing in there, even though like the whole story is taking place in like the 90s. So it does feel really weird having that in there. I mean, also like some of the 4th wall type thing, it does feel like really on the nose. Basically, you know, we're trying to be funny. It's 4th wall break and stuff like that. It's funny, but at the same time, it just comes off as just a bit. Basically, like, we know that like it's really stupid and stuff like that, and we know how to be funny and stuff like that. But at the same time, it just doesn't really work all too well for this type of story, and that's a real shame. Just because I do feel so that the 80s Turtles does have like a nice sense of comedy, but I do feel so that sometimes when people are writing the Turtles with the comedy and the 4th wall type thing, it doesn't really come off too well. But yeah, and then the last thing which I really want to talk about is the artwork, and oh my god, the artwork is amazing. This whole issue, I'm somewhat surprised that it even looks this great. And the reason for that is just because this whole issue just looks as though that it was just screenshots from the whole show. And if I was to see like one of these images like just straight up, I'll be like, okay, that's a screenshot from the show. I'll not think that this was like from like a brand new comic series. That is just how good the artwork is. And oh boy, if this artwork like keeps up throughout the whole series, then oh boy, I think that we're in for a real good treat for this being like the next best big Turtle series. But yeah, I just can't believe how good the whole artwork is. It's just so amazing. The colours work really well. Again, really feeling like the whole TV show. I just can't say enough nice things about the artwork. It is just, I want to say near perfect, but you know, I do feel as though like maybe there are like a few little things in there that I'll be like, okay, that could be done better. But other than that, this is almost near perfect. It looks so much like the TV show in so many ways. The colours were, the artwork was there, near perfect. But yeah, I must admit, overall, this whole issue has been pretty great, and yeah, again, I'm really looking forward to reading the next lot of issues and stuff like that. Oh boy, but yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about this issue. Do you like it? Do you not? And stuff like that. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, guys. If you do something, please share, like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.